The article that I'm going to be talking about is an evaluation of the efficacy of Florida key deer translocations. It was written by members of the Department of Wildlife and Fishery Sciences at Texas A&M University and published in 2007. The Florida key deer is an endangered species which is endemic to the Florida Keys, meaning that it only lives in the Florida Keys and nowhere else. Habitat fragmentation and restricted dispersal, mainly due to human activity, have hurt population sizes of the species and resulted in small, isolated herds on islands of the Florida Keys. Translocating the deer was proposed as a way to increase island herds and was performed between 2003 to 2005. Translocation involves transporting and releasing free-range animals into new areas where the species presently occurs or once occurred. This gives the species a chance to increase its population range and reproductive potential. In an attempt to assist this population in dispersing to a more suitable habitat, conservationists translocated the deer from islands in the Florida Keys to two other islands in the same region. The deer were translocated through a method called soft release, which involves a gradual transition of the organism from its old habitat then to captivity for a pretty long period of time, and then finally to a new habitat. During the captivity period, the animal is sheltered, supported, and it's fed until it's able to fend for itself. And this method contrasts with hard release translocation, where the animal is not held in captivity between its old habitat and the new habitat. It's simply taken from the old and placed into the new without any gradual support. But analysis of these type of techniques have proven that they are very unsuccessful and don't result in the species assimilating well into the new habitat. So researchers in this study accomplished this study by capturing key deer from Big Pine and No Name Key Island, and they transferred them to Sugarloaf and Cudjoe Key Islands. This is only a difference of about 20 kilometers. But these new islands were chosen because they had a large presence of the preferred key deer habitat. There was a large presence of fresh water and also a history of deer herds living there. These islands are less developed than the two earlier islands where the deer originally were, and there are a lot less barriers to dispersal for the deer there. The researchers initially released deer into a holding pen, and they provided them with food and water for 3 to 6 months and then released them into the wild. Over a period of 3 years, the conservationists tracked mortality and reproduction rates of the deer, and they observed high survival rates and range fidelity. Only 2 deer out of the 39 total translocated deer left the destination islands, which is a very good number and a sign of range fidelity. The estimated annual survival of the translocated females was not any different from that of resident females, which is also a very good sign. For the translocated male deer, the survival rates were actually higher than that of the resident deer. There are also many successful pregnancies and births of translocated deer, which is a sign that future generations on the new islands will most likely be just as successful as the first. Researchers believe that this is due to a decreased presence of roadways, more intact habitats, which are characteristic of the translocation regions. Furthermore, there were no negative effects on the native species observed, and this is likely due to the fact that the conditions of the translocation site are almost identical to the conditions, only 20 kilometers different, in the original environment of the deer population. These results indicate that, like Thomas defines in the article that we read, with careful support of translocated organisms and attention to suitability of the new habitat, climate translocations are a suitable method of conservation.